Hello! Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Fabled Narrative, and let's get right into this. This is the part 2 video of the prior video that I released yesterday. I believe that's when I have scheduled for it. But the video that I had of no CBR bending in Avatar Korra was not as great as you thought. And somebody posted 2 comments, and I want to get to them. I already went through the entire first post, the entire first comment. Tiny Renegade, thank you very much for writing all of this. It's very exhausting to go through it, but I got through the entire thing. But let's go through number 2. Gosh, this is so much. I am sweating my balls off of this chair. It is, oh my, there is so much content here. Just to sum up what I read from the prior statement, I highly recommend watching the entire video and at least getting the context as to, I break down almost every single sentence between Kuvira's tech, Benders is not a race, and this one about technology. And then, so we're going to get into the second one. Again, Tiny Renegade, I respect you. I think that you're incredibly intelligent, and I respect you for typing it out, all of this. It's more of just an informative piece of, I wouldn't say criticism, it's just more of your thoughts, and I love reading these type of things. Of like, well, what are you talking about? Like, what? Well, I might be wrong. Like, just coming to those conclusions in the real world, at real time. So, let's read part 2 of Metal Bending from Tiny Renegade. 2 hours ago, 4 hours, wait, oh my gosh, there's so much here. 4 hours ago? 2 hours ago. Let's read part 2, Metal Bending, as a retort or something to my video. Okay. The fact that everyone can metal bend now makes no sense. It requires a lot of concentration. One, before we go any further, because I see that it says no, it doesn't. The fact that everyone can metal bend now makes no sense. It requires a lot of concentration. No, it required a lot of concentration for somebody to actually sense any and all things within the metal. Because here's the most important part. For somebody to actually, whatever it is that I said, I don't remember what it is that I said specifically, so here's my retort to what I think now. That's the most important part. Is that, because whatever it is that I think, more importantly, I'm trying to make the most correct decision. And if that correct decision seems to be wrong in a week, well, I'm going to find the most correct decision that I can at that time. So I apologize if what I'm saying is different than what you have retorted at, and we'll just go from there. So if I said anything requiring that is that it requires a lot of concentration, which, again, that might be pulling something out of context to what the conclusion came from after saying that it required a lot of concentration. So instead of just like pulling one thing that may have like 10 minutes or 20 minutes of context, I don't think that's what I was actually talking about. The fact that everyone can metal bend makes no sense. It requires a lot of concentration. Well, here's a point. How much concentration did it require for Toph, who can feel the earth? Feel the earth. That's an important aspect. Because, again, you can have anybody who just bends earth and actually has that patience and that strength to going through those motions, that martial arts of bending earth. But when it came to actually feeling the particles, feeling those metal fragments, feeling the earth particles within inside the metal, etc., whichever one it was, it took a lot of time and energy while she was in that cage by those 2 guys that were hired by her father to go and bring her back home. I think it was the earthbending teacher, the fake earthbending teacher, and not the fake one, but the non-earthbending teacher. just a money grabber. And then the wrestler, the head wrestler, CEO, announcer guy. Anyways, getting off topic, is that the fact that everyone can metal bend makes no sense. It requires a lot of concentration. But again, it's one of those things that it required a lot of concentration to even sense the metal. That to metal bend required a lot of effort. Yeah. It required a lot of effort. So I might not even be saying all that I'm saying right now. It's just there was a state there to be able to metal bend, and there's even some issues within the first episode of Avatar Korra, the first season, is that there are metal benders who don't need to move any part of their body and just they're able to do it. Literally, they shoot out metal ropes and it wraps around their target, is it because they shoot it out, or they're actually metal bending the rope around them, or is it just rope inside? And it's one of those questions as to, they don't need to move their body to bend. That is an incredible implication as to where the universe can go if all you have to do is just think about it. You don't have to use your physical body. There's a lot of implications that is required if you don't have to use your body to bend metal. So Toph needed to be very concentrated while she was trying to figure out how to do it. After she did it for the first time, it's a piece of cake. Yes, but after being a piece of cake, there's still a requirement to use a lot of physical body and a lot of concentration. It's just using the physical body is an important aspect. Hopefully that's the conclusion that I actually came up in the video into why you're actually criticizing it. Else, this might feel like a cat and mouse situation where that wasn't the conclusion I came to, and it's like, well, actually it was, and it's like, well, this is the conclusion that I'm thinking about right now. It's like, well, that's not the one I retorted at. It's like going back and forth like that. So I understand if there's any frustration with, like, that's not what I meant. That's exactly what you said. And it's like, I get it. We're here now. Let's just deal with that. Just like with lightning bending, just with Aang's earth bending, just like with Katara's blood bending, the hardest thing in learning it was the figuring out the process to do it in the first place. After that, there was no problem. Within the same episode, literally in the next scene, the two earth bending morons. Yes, Toph bends metal like it's paper and does it effortlessly for the first time of the series. You're absolutely right. Yes, yep, absolutely correct. Just because she is the most powerful earthbender, it does feel and feels the earth better than anyone can, thanks to her disability. The thing that makes Toph actually powerful at the best in what she does is literally her raw power in earth bending. Which, again, she is an oddity because of being able to feel the earth, which is one of the most powerful things if you want to become a great, phenomenal earthbender, yes. Which, again, makes, because everybody's able to do it at the same level as Toph was able to do it at her age, and there's more development that you probably have with Toph. It's just one of those things of, like, it feels weird. That's not an argument. I'd agree with you, but I'm trying to articulate how I feel and why I think a certain way, and maybe it comes out in just an awkward mess. So I do apologize on that aspect. It's like, stop apologizing. You're acting like a bitch. You're a bitch. Shut up, bitch. Bitch. Slut. Bitch. Slut. That was from American Dad. It was one of the first episodes of the first season. Roger was more of a recluse, and he was staying at home and watching television shows, and that's what one of the things that he was watching is like, bitch. Slut. Bitch, slut, and it was phenomenal TV that he was enjoying. Okay, other stuff like skills and techniques are not exclusive to her. Agreed. She was able to teach. Again, it's one of those things that if we come to the agreement from the last episode, from the last video that was made, from the first long ass comment that you posted, it's a lot of words. It's actually more words than most articles ever have that I've read. So it's either I'm probably reading really horrible articles, which I would agree with you on, because some of them are from CBR, and there's a lot of woke people from CBR. A lot of woke people. It's kind of weird. There's a few articles that were like, oh my gosh, racism and sexism. There's in the title. I was like, shut up, guys. Other stuff like skills and techniques are not exclusive to her, which I would agree. If we come to the conclusion that you are inherently born with a certain bending, and then from that bending you can harness that power as a skill and develop it. For example, air bending, I have no idea what that translates itself into. Water bending, you could do ice, blood bending. There's many things that you could do from that. And fire bending, you could do electricity. Earth bending, you can do metal bending. So there's things that you can develop yourself beyond that as a more advanced form of that ability that you can do, that you were born with. So she was able to teach Aang seismic sense, and that was his opposite element. Agreed. Also, no, not everyone is able to metal bend. I don't think, again, it's one of those things that I've addressed, and it's just one of those things that kind of perturbs me. I don't think I ever meant, yes, everyone is able to metal bend. But that actually is a question, because if it is a skill, can somebody not learn how to do it? And that Aang couldn't. No. Actually, Aang didn't. It's not that he couldn't. Yeah. Because if you're not able to metal bend, does that mean that you might just need more skill? Right? Why would it be blocked off to you? Right? Isn't that a valid question? Just because he didn't do it doesn't mean it was blocked from him. He didn't have a moment where he was trying to metal bend. It's just he never did it. He never tried to do it, and even if he tried to do it and couldn't he still be able to if he had enough practice, because it's a skill. Why was he blocked off from being able to do it? Because he had earthbending, and if you're an earthbender, you could just learn that higher level of thing. Unless, again, it's genetic, when it comes from you being born with a certain level of power of being able to bend to a certain point. Right? Isn't that a valid question, at least? If it's a valid question, that's the most important part. It's just... because even if it's wrong, at least the reasoning sort of is correct. And again, I am okay with changing my mind. I actually prefer it to be with what is at least most correct. But I want to be at least as most correct as I possibly can, at least within the reasoning, as to, isn't this a possibility that is correct because of X, Y, and Z? So, oh, it's in a... is that... what was it? Excuse me. Oh, gotcha. I have an upcoming alarm. Okay, so there might be an alarm that's going to be popping up in later, probably in about 20, 30 minutes. Whew. Man, my throat. I've been talking all day. I've been doing a lot of videos. A lot more videos than I have been. So, okay, and Aang, it doesn't matter if that he is the Avatar, because outside the Avatar state, in terms of bending, every individual element, he is just a regular bender. Isn't Toph just a regular bender? Because one of the questions as to why was Toph's two daughters able to learn bending metal compared to any other person, isn't it not genetic? If it's not genetic and it's something that you're born, and it's something that you're just born with, it's genetic. If it's not something you're born with, then it's something that you can learn, which it just boggles my mind. It's like we're going back and forth on that. That doesn't make any sense. And there was no Avatar before him who could bend metal, so he wouldn't be able to do it in the Avatar state either. Why not? Why not? Whoa, 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 whoa. No. There was no Avatar that was able to do it before him, thus he will never be able to, nor any other Avatar will ever be able to do it. No, that's the wrong reasoning. That's the wrong reasoning. I was leading up to something, and then I misspoke with like one or two words that actually changed the entire meaning. I apologize. Let me start over on that one, because it's not the forever. Let me say that again. And there was no Avatar before him that could bend metal, so he wouldn't be able to do it in the Avatar state either. Where the heck are you getting that reasoning? Where are you getting that evidence? And there was no Avatar before him who could bend metal, so he wouldn't be able to do it in the Avatar state. No one else was able to do it, thus he's not able to do that. Okay? Why? Again, it's one of those oddities as to if we really want to go as far back as possible. Actually, no, I wouldn't say as far back as possible, because metal being such a more abundant of a commodity now because of the war, now there's metal almost everywhere because of the war. That used to, probably before the war, there was not that much metal actually out there, so earthbenders really... Oh, wouldn't that be the case then? Because of the rapid development of technology because of the war, before the war there was not as much metal for people to even try to do it. Meaning that people probably didn't even have the concept, like turning on a light bulb. People didn't have the concept. Now that we know the concept, we can do bigger and better things, much more of a rapid pace. So people were surviving, and then once they started to actually just live a little bit and there's a little bit more of abundance of food and stuff. Now you can actually be allowed to do more things, and then that rapid pace of technological growth, which allows people to get to the point where you can actually start metal bending, because maybe before they weren't even thinking about that because they were thinking about where to get their next food. Those type of things do matter. So, and there was no avatar before him who could bend metal. So what does that have anything to do with Aang being able to bend metal? That doesn't... That's a big issue that I have. No, it's like nobody in your lineage was able to do it. You can't do it either. That's a horrible statement. Just because a bunch of avatars weren't... If anything, I think Korra should be the one that does it. Like, I don't care who's able to bend it. I think that an avatar, maybe if they learned how to actually do it, which was told that it is a skill, and you cannot say that, well, he can't learn it because of him being a regular bender. What do you mean by a regular bender? An individual element. He, again, up to this point, I was pretty much either on board, or I was arguing, trying to justify either one way or the other. This is just flat out wrong argument. This is horrible. What do you mean by this? And there was no avatar before him who could bend metal, so he wouldn't be able to do it in the avatar state either. Okay, let's read the next sentence, the next part of the sentence, because that doesn't make any sense at all. If we assume that Toph is the first person in the world who did it. So again, we can assume that, but at the same time it'd be weird to assume it, that there was no other metal bender, but maybe there was a metal bender, but they weren't to be able to do it at that certain level. But she did say, and everyone did establish it, regardless of whether or not I like it, is that she was the first metal bender. So let's go with that assumption. There could be something that to have proven that wrong within the entire series. And there was no avatar before him who could bend metal, so he wouldn't be able to do it in the avatar state either, if we assume that Toph was the first person in the world that did it. And you told me that it was a skill, that once you're able to do it, then you can. So why was it that anybody who is an earthbender, anyone who is an earthbender, why are they not able to learn this skill? Is it because they are just stupid? Is it because their earthbending is not as developed as other people's earthbending? Which means that there's a great discrepancy between one bender and another, not just because they can do it, but whether or not they practice, but instead not of their practice, it's like you can't do volleyball if you're under 3 foot, if you're 3 foot or lower. If you're gonna have a better time in basketball if you're of a higher height. But at the same time, what's his name? Not Kobe Bryant. I'm trying to think of his name. He's like 5'9", 5'10", and everybody else in basketball is like at least 6 foot. And because of those 2 or 3, 4 inches, everybody's able to like dunk the ball, while he may be able to dunk the ball, but because he's been practicing for over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Is it because that people's bending abilities are so radical, or is it just that people are not training or practicing that talent? Is it, again, that's one thing of like, I would agree with you, but what do you mean by a regular bender? That doesn't make any sense with what you told me of being a skill, and regular benders can bend metal, can they not? Unless you have to be a rare bender, which means it is genetic. You're kind of contradicting yourself, and I'm getting I've exacerbated myself, or my words, like my attitude is getting a little bit piss poor because of that. You're telling me it is skill, but at the same time you're saying, no, it's not genetic, but also here's genetics as to prove it, that you being born with your level of inherent talent, therefore you can't learn this skill because it is genetic. It doesn't make any sense. It's like okay, I don't mind that. Again, that's the real world. People have certain levels of talents that scale from piss poor to phenomenal, and some people who are piss poor practice their fucking ass off and are able to be better than those who have had the talent, because the people with talent weren't able to do it. So it shouldn't matter if it is a skill that you can learn it. If Avatar Aang put his fucking heart on the line, being able to practice it, he should be able to do it because it's a skill. Anyone can learn programming. It's just the majority of people who don't do programming don't put in the hours that are needed to be doing it. Same thing with any skill whatsoever in life. You want to be an entrepreneur, you have to put the hours in. If you want to be a programmer, you have to put the hours in. If you want to learn a trade skill, literally going and being a plumber or something and making $90,000 a year right out of training in 2 years compared to going to college, all it requires is you just doing the work and keep training. Some people can do it for 40 hours and then learn it, and they're done. One other person might have to learn 80 hours in that same week just to be in the same ballpark as them, but not at the same level. So again, it's just one might require more effort to do it. What do you mean by a regular bender? Is he barred from doing it because of the genetic bending that he was born from? Because there's a limit to his power because of his genetic birth of learning that element, because he himself is able to bend it because he is the avatar. It's not really it's the avatar, but it's more the spirit that's inside that's able to bend it, which, again, that's one thing that I forgot about the avatar Korra, of being able to explain that spirit that goes from avatar to avatar to avatar, or from bender to bender to bender to making them the avatar. That's something that I actually have to rewatch, but that doesn't make any sense. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It is a skill that you can learn, but there aren't many people among the earthbenders who are sensitive enough to Earth to be able to do it. What? What? Fuck are you talking about? The reason... Okay, what do you mean by sensitive? What do you mean by sensitive? You have to explain that. I mean, I have so wholeheartedly been taking everything that you said in the first long-ass comment that you posted with wholehearted, with an open mind. What the arguments in the second one don't make any sense now. It's like you're, I think, stretching it a bit. It is still a skill you can learn, but there aren't that many people among earthbenders. Why? That's a question. Who are sensitive enough. What do you mean by sensitive? Quote unquote sensitive. You mean someone who can feel that? So it's something that you're born with? Isn't it something that you can train yourself to do? People who don't have some certain talents can still learn a skill. They may just not be as great as somebody else. Maybe you can like metal bend, but maybe only like up to like 1 pound worth of metal. Even if you like practice and practice and practice for years, but still being able to get to that level. That you can train yourself to be sensitive, can you not? Unless it is, locked off to you because of a talent that you were born with. Again, it seems like you're saying, well, it's a skill you can learn. Okay. But it's not a skill because you weren't born with the sensitivity level as other benders. It's genetic. So, Toph taught her daughters. So, oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh, your argument is going down the fucking drain. Toph taught her daughters. Well, what do you mean by them being sensitive enough? Is it because that they were genetically produced by Toph? You cannot explain away the fact that Toph had children, and those children were learning from somebody who had that level and ability, that they were sensitive enough. What? Through random chance? Well, what are the fucking odds of both of them being sensitive enough to bend metal when nobody on the fucking planet was able to bend metal? Wow! That argument, man! No! 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 Lin, in turn, taught metal bending to elite police force. Okay, I thought Toph was the one that taught the elite police force, and then Lin took, No, I think it was Toph. No, I'm going to go with that. Toph was the one that that opened up the police force. Toph had the statue in the episode 1, I think. Episode 1 had her statue right outside the police force, and had the police force to begin with, and was able to teach the police force metal bending. And maybe Lin taught the elite police force that, but the police force were able to learn metal bending. I don't think she was the only metal bender. If anything, like in 20 years? Like that's just that's more of a question. Than anything. I thought it was Toph that was the one that did it, not Lin. So if it was Lin, that would make a lot of... Again, one of them had to. I don't understand why Toph was in the police force to begin with to even start it, because her personality at the very beginning, before the age of 12, well, actually at the age of 12 when she was all out and just doing her own thing, and then at the end of her life when she was out and going and doing her own thing, and then in the middle that made no sense. She opened up the police force, which is the exact opposite, contradictory to her entire personality when she was younger. I want to go out and I want to do my own thing. And then at the very end of her life, she had the exact same personality, so they sort of used her name to insert a character they could have just used as Lin. I am all on board with Lin and her other daughter, her other daughter, not Lin, but the other daughter, her sister, going off and creating and being the leader of the metal bending city. I'm okay with that. I think it's more hilarious, the fact of Toph wanting to be so open with her rules that she was too open with her rules. She didn't really care what Lin or her sister did, or her other daughter did, both of her daughters, so they went off and created law and order and structure and rules contrary to what Toph did. So it doesn't make any sense why Toph would be making police, like the police force, being the rule enforcer and no, you don't have to do that, I'm the rule enforcer. That's the opposite of her personality. I think Lin should have been the one that actually created the police force. That would have absolutely made every sense whatsoever, but not with Toph. I guess that's one big argument that I have with the biggest issue one of the biggest issues that I have with the original, the first episode of the first season of the second series, Avatar Korra. That's just something, and I would love to hear I'd love to hear what you if there's any arguments against why Toph actually created the Force, but again, there's such a large gap that you can explain anything away, where it's like, what if we took our time? I would love to get to the point with that, but we could have taken our time, and I would love to see an Avatar Korra, and there's many other examples that I give in the breakdown videos that I'm creating. It's just like, well, what could have been better here? This, and this. Even though it's like, well, why are you talking? Just enjoy the show. I am enjoying the show, but would have been better. And what seems to be a constant trope is, they rushed themselves, and because of the rush, some of the dialogue doesn't make any sense. For example, and I'll get right back into this. It's just that in episode 3, when Bolin is kidnapped by the Equalists, he's asking, who is your friend, and they're at Air Temple Island. Well, they're now in the middle of the city with a cutaway. They're now in the middle of the city, and they're finishing the conversation as though they were on Airbender Island. Could you not have explained it at Airbender Island by, like, who is your friend? And then the polar bear dog comes over, Naga, starts licking his face and pins him to the floor. And he's like, get this monster off of me. And it's like, well, that's not a monster. That's my lovable Naga. And then they pop into the middle of the city, and then he just says, well, this is the last place that of his last known location. Well, let's look around a little bit. Boom! Like, it's like little things like that actually change, like, well, what were they doing through the entire time from the dialogue? Did they just stop talking? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying Avatar: The Last Airbender is foolproof because of this, but it starts to stack up, and that's what I'm seeing. And it might not, because of this entire conversation, this everything that you posted, it will change what I'm thinking about, because there's some aspects that I haven't thought about when it came to with Korra, and maybe that explanation. I might have to watch. Again, that video that you mentioned, the video that I noted of the technology and it being developed within an amount of time, but that's something that I'm going to have to go watch, and probably something I'm going to have to probably stop complaining about, because, hey, it actually does make sense. It's like, oh, never noticed. Now I do. Interesting. Ooh, that's good for my throat. Good old water. Toph taught her daughters, which again goes back to the, is it genetics or is it a skill? You were born with a sensitivity level of being able to do it, which means that it's not really just a skill. It's something that you're born with. It's just it's like earthbending. It's a talent that, okay, now it actually makes a lot more sense that metal bending is a talent you were born with, not a skill. It's kind of the question as to which one is it? So Lin in turn taught metal bending to her elite police force. Which the question is, where did they get the sensitivity enough to bend the metal, to sense the metal? Right? Isn't that a question to ask? Like, well, they're just sensitive enough. What do you mean by sensitive? The only person that was sensitive enough to learn it was somebody who was able to sense through seismic vibrations. And isn't that a skill that that Toph taught Aang? Which means that Aang can do it, which means he's not just a regular bender, because bending in of itself is an immutable characteristic that you are born with, and then you can hone it to whatever level that you possibly can, right? If I'm okay with being wrong, I just need to know what it is, but there's so many contradictions going in so many directions here. Again, elite. Okay, saying the word elite doesn't, no. They're trained to be the elite. Let me say that again. They're trained to be the elite. It's not that they are elite. Again, you're saying that as though bending to her elite police force. Yes, those who practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, just like Aang did. Practice and practice and practice, and was able to do seismic bending, which was only seen to have done from Toph. Toph taught it to him. He should be able to metal bend, because it is a skill. Because you're able to do the one thing that is required, which is to bend that particular element. Right? Right? Not every cop in Republic City is a metal bender, which is the question as to why. It seems as though it's a genetic thing that you don't have the sensitivity level. Is it that they haven't practiced it? Because there's a whole... Here's an example. How many Michael Jordans are there on the planet that are practicing basketball, but they don't practice, but they have a piss poor attitude? There's a great example that explains this entire thing with, if you go watch Larry Elder. Now, I don't think he gets really political at all with what he's talking about, but there's a video online that's about 33 minutes, and it's Larry Elder, regardless of whether or not you agree with his politics or not. He's describing events as to what happened with him and his father. As an example, his father did not know his father because his mother had more men in the household than a modern-day whore. So, again, it's one of those situations of like, wow, it's pretty much of an issue, and then chose his father then chose her then boyfriend over her son, and kicked the son out because there was a disagreement between the husband versus the son. So the son at the age of like 12 was kicked out of his household in Jim Crow South. Okay? That's pretty fucked up. But what happened is that he was training and he was practicing. He'd gone through all trials and tribulations. There's a lot of information, a lot of details that happened. But he goes into the Marines. He goes into I think the Air Force. I don't know which one it was. Maybe in the Army. And then he got out. He was a cook. And then he tried to be a cook. And guess what? He had the will. He had the will to do it, but his life and environment said no. But he kept doing it beyond what the environment was telling him, saying no. He said yes, kept fucking pushing it. He was able to get it done. So one example with Larry Elder's childhood friend was that Larry Elder, was more of an intellectual. He enjoyed books and stuff a lot more, while his friend was like an athlete. The athlete in the school. He was able to do tennis, basketball, football, and baseball. All the sports. He was able to dominate. But in a few years, his attitude was getting in the way of being able to have sponsorships. That he was having an attitude on the field, which the coach had to tell other people who were coming to scout, saying, don't sign this guy up, because I don't want to be held accountable for his shitty behavior you're eventually going to be firing him for. So the coach had to say, like, I can't handle this guy. And I don't want to like say, yeah, he's really good, because you won't come back to me anymore looking for other people to be scouting for. So that's one of the things of, like, he fucked himself over because his attitude towards his coach and everybody in class, and he had this just like, well, whatever. But he was really good physically, and he had a very great talent to be phenomenal, better than Michael Jordan. Because he was, or like a Michael Jordan, where he's just really good at his particular thing that he could have just dominated. But when Larry Elder, after he went to law school, after a few decades, he went back and he found him in the exact same home, in the broken down shared apartment, or whatever it was. I don't know if it was like a dual home where you have an A and B, and it's just there's a grain divider in the middle of the home. It's like an apartment but with only two sides. And then just found him doing that, and it's like, well, no, my name's not Jacob anymore. That was my slave name. And it's like, what do you mean slave? What are you talking about? We were born in the same neighborhood. He's like, no, and he just had a piss poor attitude, and he just went down the wrong side. That he had many great talents and abilities. That somebody who didn't have the talent and ability just went out and tried and worked, realizing that the guy who could have been the next Michael Jordan, if not greater than him, was fucked over because he didn't have a father in the home. And it's like he looked around his neighborhood and he realized the people that succeeded versus the people that didn't succeed either had fathers in the homes or didn't. And it's the biggest thing that he harps on. It's just we need to have fathers in the home. So, and more importantly, with his father was in the home, but he was a fucking ass. But he only had like 3-4 hours of sleep every single night because he had 2 jobs and dealing with children or something like that. So it's just one of those things of like, I don't believe but what's happening in this world that just because not every cop in Republic City is a metal bender. No, they do not bend metal. You know how many people in a company can be the CEO, but what fucks them over is their piss poor attitude? Here's a great example. Hey, I have an opportunity for you to make $100,000. Your first reaction is what's going to cause you to either be a metal bender or not, or to be successful, or even to capitalize on that. It's like, well, oh, it's a scam. One, is it a scam? Have you practiced it? How many hours and how many days and how many weeks, if not how many months, have you been practicing it to actually know anything about that environment? Well, it's a scam. Anybody who's trying to make you money it's a scam. That's the type of piss poor attitude of like, well, what about an actual $100,000 opportunity for you to go and flip houses in neighborhoods that really need people to buy and sell it? Hey, for you to be the mediator, for you to be the middleman, and being like, hey, here's an opportunity, let me connect you with somebody who's looking for a home in this one area. Boom, real estate agents. Make $100,000 a year, but because somebody thinks of that to be not an opportunity, but to be a scam, why would they associate with that? That happens on the day-to-day basis. Well, I can't be good enough. Just because people are not metal benders does not mean that they themselves can't metal bend. It's the same thing that you said with Aang. No avatar has ever been able to do it in the past. But one of the major things is that there was not maybe enough metal out of the ground for them to mine for their major machines, because war is a major conquest. It's a major expedition, and because of how much metal, Toph didn't even care to metal bend until she was trapped within metal. The only way out of it was to metal bend. Every other person who was an earthbender who did not have that type of situation, maybe they didn't have the mindset of, maybe I can bend this thing because, well, it's not earth, therefore I can't bend it. No, I think it's just because a cop in Republic City is not able to metal bend does not mean that they cannot. It's that they hadn't. It's that they don't. We do not know the brevity of the situation as to where metal bending and what limits there might be. So that was a lot of explanation within just one sentence. That was actually, that was a lot of fun. that was fun to me. That was interesting. Wow, that was fascinating. I was in the flow. I was not even looking. I didn't even recognize that I was actually in my room. I was just in my head thinking and thinking and thinking. That was fun. That was exciting. I like this. This is fun. My throat is gonna hate me tomorrow morning, but it's fun. Okay. The Force is formed of talented people. Yeah, okay, like what the Force, what do you mean, like Star Wars? What are we talking about? The Force being cops, being the police force. The police force is formed of talented people who were able to learn technique and master it. Learn the technique and master it, which, okay, so you're able to learn the technique. Oh my gosh, I want to fucking, Kurt, cuss you out. So the people who were able to learn the technique, it's a technique that they can learn because they're sensitive enough, or because they practice the skill regardless of how talented they are. Because you can have an elite police force of somebody who's training for 4 years and ace it, where somebody has to do it for 8 years and can then pass. Again, those type of situations do exist. It's but I'm not saying that that's what happens or whatever in the series. That's not proven. But there's some when you say able to learn the technique, it's because they are sensitive enough. No, because they're able to learn the technique. So only those who are able to learn the technique do learn the technique. But the question is, how do these people know that they can actually metal bend? Is it because there's a, but it seems as though we have no understanding as to how many people try out for the police force and don't get in because they cannot metal bend. And most of the time, I think one of the only times that I'm okay with being corrected here, the only time that I can actually think in Avatar Korra, or any time, is with Korra, when she's trying to bend and she can't bend air. Or at least, again, I'm on episode 3, I'm doing episode 4 tomorrow. And I'm doing like 2 hours worth, so again, each one's going to be painstakingly looking at the details. But again, there's some details that I might be overlooking because of me breaking it down so quick. So on the detailed level, minute level. It's just that, again, we don't have any understanding as to somebody who can bend versus somebody who can't bend. Because Avatar Aang was able to sense the ground, just like Lin. How the fuck is Lin able to do it? And you're saying sensitive in quotations like it explains anything. Is it because of a genetics that was being birthed from, which proves airbenders are born from the nomad nation, which means that it's genetic. It's one of again, I think you're trying to have it both ways here. It's like, well, it's read in this comic that it's wrong. It's this way. Well, the comic might be wrong. That's the point that I'm trying to get at. It's that I don't care if it's been established, because just because Disney trilogy Star Wars brought Palpatine back to life the way that they did it means that that's the way it should have been. Or more importantly, well, that's just the way that it is. No. It's fantasy. It's fantasy within fantasy. Because it's a fantasy, and then they're trying to imagine a new fantasy that would explain a new timeline as to why he would be able to do that. He was thrown in the middle into the middle of the Death Star and blew up, and then the entire Death Star blew up. So, how did a portion of it exist in The Rise of Skywalker? It shouldn't have. It should have all been destroyed. How did he survive? Well, unnatural. The dark side leads to unnatural power, to great power, which some might consider unnatural. It's like, that doesn't explain away the stupids. It's what? Okay, Sue. Sue. Isn't Sue the other daughter of Toph? Sue and Lin, because that makes a lot of sense. Okay, Sue, on the other hand, taught her children and trained her city's guards. Wait. The city's guards with the metal bending city. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Who were also formed of people who were able to do it. No. I will challenge you on this, but I need to rewatch the entire that episode of, well, are you able to metal bend? Again, I think you're coming with the assumption, I think that you have this assumption, that is wrong, that you're saying who were also formed of people who were able to do it. You're assuming that they were able to do it, where I'm saying, well, if it is a thing that you can practice, anyone can do it. It's not limited, it's probably just because you might not believe that you can do it, why try? Oh, Toph is metal bending? Hey, there's an issue we need to have with metal bending, let's get Toph. Aang never tries to metal bend. Does he not? If he does try, if he does try and fails, can't he just practice? We're not shown that just because he can't do it right then and there, him not doing it doesn't mean he can't. That's like that's like a baby crawling. Well, you're not walking, therefore you can't do it. It's like, no. 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 And also Kuvira. Kuvira was connected to the metal bending city, which, there's a lot of her history I don't really remember, but that gets to something else entirely. And that is pretty much it. Nope. I disagree with that, and everything that I said for the past 20-30 minutes falls upon, like, just saying no anymore. Just like, no, that's wrong. At least from the reasoning that I've made. If that reasoning is wrong, I don't mind being wrong. I just don't think it's correct. I don't think what your position is correct. I might be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I think that's a constant thing that I think is really good. I don't think I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I just don't think I'm wrong. So I'll change the justification, change the evidence and reasoning, or more importantly, just at least the reasoning aspect, and then we're good. So Toph, her family, Sue's guards in oh, that's what it was called. Zaofu. Why would you call it Zaofu? I don't know, that's just a weird, I know it's like Bossing Se and the other one, what was the King Bumi city? I'm trying to think of that. It's not coming to my mind right now, but I remember the history of it with being like the man from one side of the war with a daughter with a woman on the other side of the war, and they came together in through the secret caverns and tunnels that love will light the way if they kissed, and the crystals will light up in the secret tunnel. Whatever that name of the city was their names together. And then when the guy died, the woman like wreaked havoc or something, and then everybody just like, okay, let's put down our arms because what we did was kill a loving pair. And that's what connected the Katara and Aang relationship pretty darn well. Secret tunnel. And Lin's special force in Republic City. Okay, again, if you're... Oh my gosh. You're using the exact same argument you said that I was doing wrong at. What do I mean by that? Well, if we look at the people that are able to do it on screen, the people bending metal are the only ones that can do it. Therefore, there must be a specific thing that is required for them to do it, which was my argument with lightning bending with the royal family. But you're saying, no, anyone can just learn it. But with metal bending, other than lightning bending, that's different. Fuck off, dude! You're saying the argument, again, I'm just going to rehash this, I'm not attacking you, I'm attacking your argument. The argument here is shit. It's shit. Because you contradicted it earlier. Earlier you mentioned, when I was saying, the argument that because lightning bending, the only three people that we both agree on that's actually in the Avatar The Last Airbender series of being able to lightning bend are the royal family. Now you're saying that Mako and other people are able to learn it. It's a skill. Okay. But I'm saying the only people that were able to actually do it, being able to have the sense, if we're going to go with the argument of sensitivity, the argument that only the royal family are sensitive enough to be doing it, right? Like, I might be wrong here, okay? It's the same. Oh, okay, no. Okay, you know what? I think I'm going to keep this in here. I don't want you to get pissed off or anything. I'm probably wrong here, okay? I'm gonna concede some moment, and I'm gonna have to think this thing through, because that's the same argument I thought when I first read it, that you're saying that there's only a certain amount of only these people on the screen are doing it, therefore. And that's my exact same argument that I was doing. It's like, well, only these people are able to lightning bend, and you're telling me now anyone can just learn it, and it's not just something that cannot anybody just learn how to do it. It's not through just sensitivity. Okay, no. I might be going in like 4 different directions here. So there's the alarm. Okay, no. Okay, okay. Officially saying I'm sorry. I got pissed off. I might be tired. I might need a snack. I might need to take a break. How much more do we have to go? Holy crap, I may or may not be able to do this because of how much time that is required to do this. Oh my gosh. Okay, because we are just in the first paragraph, and there's 3 more. Oh my gosh. Okay. I might have to pick this up at a different time tomorrow, because we're already approaching 1 hour, but let me at least finish this entire paragraph before I move on. Oh my gosh. So again, it might be because of that. That was my alarm for me to go to bed. I've been doing this all day, and I'm kind of tired, so I might have just gotten off of my rocker and just cussed and cursed you out for no freaking reason. So, again, what's your name? Tiny Renegade. Tiny Renegade, I apologize. I should not have said what I said. I'm still going to post it because I don't really care if I kind of make a fool of myself. The entire aspect of this of this YouTube channel, I really wish it would grow. But at the same time, the one thing that I really require of myself is being able to articulate my position, being able to think a position through, and being able to consume certain content that actually improves my ability to think, because it actually correlates with other things in my life. And again, I would love to share these things with other people. That's just, again, like this, I enjoy arguing with people. Because you're not evil. You are not stupid. I think the argument you gave was stupid. And even if I call you stupid, it doesn't make that I'm right. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't make you stupid. So, again, I enjoy arguing with people, but I don't like arguing with people live. I like to listen to an argument and let myself process what that is, because it might take me a lot longer to actually process the information that you're giving me. So having a live argument might not be the best thing. That's one of the one thing that I found about myself, of being like how I think. That's I've lived a life. I'm old enough to have lived a life, and I developed much later in life than I probably should have. And I'm getting on track, and because of where I'm going, I'm able to actually understand and articulate certain positions, that maybe certain activities that I should or should not be doing, and I'm changing myself one day a bit at a time. So again, I'm just more concerned that what I did was out of line. So I'm sorry that I said any of that. I'm sorry, and I apologize for doing that. So, and again, if there's any comments that you post because of this type of thing, it's not. I used to do that, and I removed those videos because there's no need to be highlighting bad comments or something. But more importantly, if there's something of just like outlashing, there's no need to be highlighting somebody who's angry. So, if somebody's angry, like, people get angry, but what's the context of the situation? That's most important. So, again, if you want to post something and try to like comment on something, I'm not going to be able to record it because of that one aspect, and if I do it, then I apologize. See, I'm thinking this thing through live, so it's like if I can write down my thoughts, they might be all over the place, but then if I'm able to articulate them and put them in a processional line, just like a timeline of like, well, here's the start and here's the end, here's the conclusion, and then how do we formulate my entire thoughts. So right now I'm not really able to think because, it's quote unquote bedtime, getting off doing these type of things, so I have to get off in a bit. So again, my brain might be a little bit off-putting, so I have no filter right now. I think that's the best way of saying it, is that I'm talking before I'm actually even thinking about what I'm saying, but when I say it, I'm actually thinking about what I'm saying. So it's not that I think about what I say before I say it, I'm saying it before I even think about it. So when I think about it, then I start thinking about what I've said. Hope that made sense. So let me think this through again, because Toph, her family, sues guards, and Lynn's special force in Republic City. That's all the metal benders we see in the show. We see a lot of earthbenders who never bend metal, so everyone can do it now is a wrong assumption. Okay, at the same point, everyone can do it. I think I said anyone, and if I did say everyone, I apologize. That's not the context that I meant. Is that anyone can now do it because it is a skill you can do unless you inherit a certain level of genetics. Is it something that, how are you born with a specific level of a particular thing? How are you born? Because it's not a skill. You're saying that it's something that you are inherited. So how are you born with that thing, that ability, or is it just random? How is it random if it's not genetic, if it's not something you're born with? If it's something you're born with and it is random, well then isn't that something that they should be addressing in the show at some point to make that as a conclusion, because that is the correct way of looking at the show. And anything that steers away that particular way of looking at it, that it's not that again, blood bending, the only people that are able to blood bend outside of the moon are the mob boss who's able to blood bend the entire proceeding of his hearing of either to be found guilty or not guilty for the crimes of blood bending, and able to do it without blood bending. Guess who are the only people able to do blood bending outside of the moon? His two sons. So it seems to be genetic, just like, again, with lightning bending. It seems to be genetic. The skill of extreme, able to sense it. How are all these other these people able to do it when bending in of itself comes from birth? I don't mind it being skill. I would prefer it to be skill. But what we see on screen is not that. That it is genetic. That's the biggest issue that I have, is like, so everyone can do it? They should be able to. So if anything, yes, you're correct. Only genetic. It's not something that anyone can be able to do it with. Toph was able to do it as an oddity, but in of itself was able to birth two children that were sensitive enough to do it. So, which means that Sue's children should be able, again, are Sue's children able to bend because they were birthed from a certain particular talent pool, able to do it? So there's a genetic aspect and a skill aspect. So it's one of those things of just, where's that established line? That's, man, oh man, this is going to be an interesting video to upload. I still got blood bending and Hama with blood bending? Huh, okay. And then another Hama is very skilled and experienced, but she isn't very powerful. What? Okay, that's just something out of context. That is incredibly out of context, so I can't really judge that entire thing. But we're going to go through another video some other time. I gotta go to bed. Thank you very much for being a part of this. Please post your comments, questions, concerns right down below, because I want to hear from you, which may actually kind of contradict what I just went through of like, what are you talking about? But I do want to hear from you. Please smash that like and subscribe button, because that would greatly help this channel out. And most importantly, go out and do wonders. Thank you very much for being a part of this, and I'll see you next time. Beep.